Welcome once again to the Assembly, our effort at a podcast. We're glad that you joined us. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to consider the things that are said here, and especially your spiritual interest in the things of Jesus. Thank you for that. It's the greatest cause in the world is the cause of Jesus Christ. He is reality. He's where purpose and fulfillment is found. He's what this world is about. And that's what we want to do, is just simply put forth that consistent teaching in whatever way that we can. So we're here to help you. DewayneDunaway.com is my website. You can feel free to email me from there. If there's anything I can do to help you with spiritually, I'd be glad to do that. Now, it's getting that time of the year where we live. You start thinking about Thanksgiving, and you start thinking about the things that pertain to being thankful, and the Bible certainly has a lot to say about that. If you listen carefully to people, even those who do not believe or say that they do not believe or whatever, listen carefully every now and then, they'll say, I sure am thankful, or something like that. And that tells you inherently within every heart, we know there are reasons to be thankful, but that presupposes the fact that there's someone to be thankful to. So if someone says, I don't believe in God, but I'm thankful, to whom are you thankful? And that's something that we all need to look at, open our eyes to, is this reality, the reality that is around us on every side that we walk in, that we look to by faith. Are we really just believing something that isn't true? Are we believing a fairy tale, or are we focused on where the evidence leads? In other words, someone says, I don't believe in God, I don't accept what Christianity says. Well, tell me what you do believe, even if Christianity does not make total sense to you. And there's definitely mysteries when you're talking about God. But if we just lay them all out side by side, which one makes more sense? Maybe you should start from that perspective. But anyway, it's just something to consider. I'm not your judge. You're not going to stand before me. But we need to, ask ourselves if we're walking in reality. And one of the things that, as a Christian, that we need to do is to be thankful. And one of the things that might open your eyes to considering some of these things is there is a lot of good in the world. There's a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be thankful about. And when it comes to the problems in the world, I get where people are coming from. And there are a lot of things in the world that don't make sense to our minds at the present time. But that doesn't mean they never will. Doesn't mean they don't make sense to God. But also, we need to understand that God did not create evil, for example. Let's start there. People say, why would a good God create evil? Well, evil is not a thing. It doesn't stand alone. Try to define evil without talking about good. You can't describe darkness without using the word light, or at least talking in terms of light. Genesis 1 and verse 31 says, God saw everything that he had made, and it was good. What he created was good. But evil, then, is the corruption of what is good. It doesn't stand alone. It feeds off of goodness. Its very definition is the denial of what is good. So what he created humanity with was the choice to walk in darkness rather than in light, if that's what we want to do. But he has set us up for success in every way possible. Do you remember what the last podcast was about? I don't either. There's a point I want to make, but I can't remember if I made it last one.
Christ or something like that.
Did I talk? Do you remember me talking about the tree of life being in the middle of the garden? Okay. Or a lot of people think that he has. Let's see. A lot of people accuse him of setting us up for failure. He created mankind, put him in the garden, and then let the devil attack them. But let's look at that realistically for a minute. Did he set them up for failure, or did he set them up for success? He set them up for success. He gave them this entire garden. I don't know how big it was, but it was big, and there were a lot of trees there. And he said, all of this is for you. Basically, enjoy yourself. I created this for you. And he wanted to be in that relationship of intimacy with him. He gave them a choice. But the choice he gave them, he put in the middle of the garden. He might as well have put it under stadium lights. He didn't say, I've hidden a tree out here somewhere, and it's like walking through a field not knowing where the landmine is. He didn't put 10 or 12 in there to cross them up. He put one tree in the middle of the garden, set it in the middle of the garden where they knew exactly where it was, and told them, do not go near this tree. That's setting them up for success, not failure. Giving them a choice is not setting them up for failure. Other than just making them robots, what more could he have done? And the devil comes into Eden. The devil comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. John 10 and verse 10. He's the burglar coming into somebody else's home in the Garden of Eden. God created that for humanity. He had to come on Adam's turf in order to get Adam to sin. So God had everything working in Adam's favor and Eve's favor as well. They chose to rebel against God. So God did not set them up for failure. He set them up for success. But he did give them the choice to do right or to do wrong, the same way you would have done if someone asked you before your children or grandchildren or whatever were born, or at least even if you don't have children, you understand the concept. If somebody said to you, somebody with the power that God has, said, we can go about this one of two ways. I can make it to where this person that is to be born to you, or this person that you care about, never has any problems. They never cry. They never experience sadness, no skint knees, no pain of any kind, no chance of getting sick. I can just make them to where everything goes their way. Or I can make them real. Make them where they are actually human. The essence of identity is love and relationship, which necessitates choice. So I can make them real, or I can make them where they have this idea of love that you think they should have. In other words, in order to show that you love them, you need to take their ability to choose away. If he gave you that choice, what decision would you make? You don't even have to tell me. And if you don't know, I'll tell you what decision you're going to make. If you go think about it for 3 days, you're going to come back and here's what you're going to say. I want them to be real. There's no happiness without knowing what sorrow is. You've just taken away from your loved one the ability to actually experience any kind of real happiness, the ability to actually love you, or to be loved, or to know what love is. Because without sorrow and disappointment, we don't have an appreciation of what love and goodness and those things are. It just doesn't make any sense to view it that way. Now, you're not a better parent than God, so I know that if that's the choice that you and I would make, and we know we would, because we would want them to be real, even though there's pain and consequences to choice, we'd still want them to have it. But we look at God and say, why didn't you do it this way? Can't you imagine God being in heaven? Of course, this is just symbolic imagery for us to think about. But, God kind of looking at humanity and saying, I want them to know that I really, really love them. Now, I could do that by just taking the devil out of the way and keeping anything bad from happening to them. But that's not going to prove that I love them. I don't even have to get out of the chair to do that, so to speak. God is all powerful. He could do that very easily. But can't you just see him saying, but that's not going to really show them that I love them. That's not real love. Here's what I'll do. I'll go into this world of suffering and suffer with them and suffer for them and do for them what they could not do for themselves. And then they'll have to know that I love them. Why would anyone come into the world and live that kind of sacrificial life, a real human life, when they don't have to, and choose to die when they don't have to, and go through that ordeal to show that my love is real and it's sacrificial? And then people still, even though he's come to us in Christ, they still question his motives. They still say, you don't really love us. They still say, if you were really loving, there would not be suffering in the world, ignoring the fact that he came into the world to suffer for us, and properly understood, we could not be saved without it, because he suffered in order to save us and to help us. So if nothing else, hopefully that motivates you to at least step back and say, I may have been looking at this thing wrong. It may be time to start embracing more of a realistic approach to this, rather than just our narrow view of here's what God would do if he were really loving. What we're saying is, this is what I would do if I were God. But you don't judge God by those kinds of human standards, because we don't know enough to say, here's what I would do. He has given us enough information for us to love him and trust him and serve him and to have a real relationship with him. He has proven his love beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond any reasonable doubt. That's all you can ask of him. Beyond a reasonable doubt, he's proven that he loves us. So he might have reasons, just like a parent makes a child do things, and it will eventually tell a child, because I said so. You can't understand it at this time. But parents have reasons for the things that they do. Maybe we should give God the benefit of the doubt and say he's proven that he loves us. Maybe he has reasons that are going to make sense one day. And remember, if we can help you with anything like that, don't forget, we're accessible here. DewayneDunaway.com is the website. My email address is on there. In fact, I'll tell you my email address is DewayneDunawayMinistries@gmail.com. If there's anything I can do to help you with your struggles in that regard, anything that's tripping you up philosophically or logically about this, I think I can probably help you with that. And so at least give us the chance to try, because this is the most important consideration in the world. If God exists and Christ is his son, nothing else matters ultimately. Nothing is more important than that. Now, back to Satan having to go into Adam's territory on his home turf to steal a victory, to trip Adam up. God set Adam completely up for success. Adam and Eve in the garden, and they chose to rebel against God. Same thing you and I have done. Without understanding all the mysteries of why, we know the reality. We have not done God right at all, not in any sense of the word. All of us are that way. And yet his response is to love us, to come into the world. Matthew 20 and verse 28, Jesus said, I did not come to be served, I came to serve. He comes into the world to show us what life is about, that love is the transcendent reality of the universe, that the most important thing in the world and in this universe is people, that Christ Jesus really is an adequate explanation for everything that you see and everything that we learn. He does it that way. He makes it so huge, so vast, so that no matter how big the telescopes get and no matter how far science advances, all we learn is that there's more to learn. And God says, I did that to demonstrate my glory and my power so that you will know that I am who I am. But it's so that you will have that relationship with him, not that you will just study rocks and trees, although there's definitely advantages in that. Real science is a wonderful thing. But it should lead us to bow humbly and humble ourselves before the Creator who made all of these things, and he made them all for humanity. The fact that Jesus became a man, he did not become a planet, he did not become a star, he did not become a tree, he did not become a rock, he did not become an animal. He became a human being. Whether we like it or not, or whether it's the way we would do it or not, the most important thing to God is people. The value of human life, humanity, every individual matters to God. And he seeks a personal, intimate relationship with you personally as an individual, because that's the way he is. And he is the God of love, mercy, and grace. And that may not answer all your questions, but that definitely gets you thinking in the right direction about God, because the devil just wants you to think negatively about God. He's got you if he can do that. He wants you to look at circumstances. He wants you to evaluate things on your own scales of human fairness. That's what he's been doing since the Garden of Eden. God doesn't mean what he says, or God's trying to hold you back and keep you from being like him. He's always lied about God. That's what he does today. You can choose to not believe it. And one of the ways you can do it is by looking completely at Christ. And I say one of the ways in quotes there. Actually, the way to do it is to look at Jesus. Focus, when you think about why is there so much suffering in the world, think about Jesus on that cross, going through the suffering for you. When you think about, does God really love me? He's answered that in Christ Jesus. What in the world was somebody like him doing in a place like this? Because love motivated him to come here. That's the greatest man who ever lived. That's the greatest person who's ever lived on this planet. He came into this world to suffer and to die for us. Does that not deserve our respect? Does that not deserve a simple life of thanksgiving? He doesn't ask you to pay him back. He doesn't ask you to earn anything. Basically, the gist of what he's saying is, will you just acknowledge what I've done for you and be thankful? Is that too much to ask? If you want to say that God set somebody up for failure, it would have been Jesus. He set himself up for failure, because the devil had to go into the Garden of Eden to attack Adam. He had to go on Adam's home turf. Jesus had to come into the devil's home turf. Since the fall, this world has been under the domain and the rule of the wicked one. God working in the less invasive way of love and changing people's hearts, but not forcing them, because the devil holds sway here. 1 John chapter 5, one of the most sobering verses in the Bible. The whole world is under the control of the evil one. If you want to be high and mighty in the eyes of the world, and you want to focus on worldly things, You want that to be your life, this short life, this transit life that we're going through at breakneck speed. And the corridors of time are just flying by. The older you get, the more you see that. You want to put everything in that basket, the temporal basket. Know who you're going to have to serve to do that. He's the God of this world. That's what he tried to get Jesus to do in Matthew chapter 4. Fall down and worship me. I'll give you all of this. Jesus said, this ain't what I want. What I want is my people to come home and live with me eternally in heaven. So Jesus comes into this world where the devil holds sway, and he comes onto the devil's territory. Adam got to face Satan in a beautiful, lush garden with all of his needs met. And everything that Satan was promising him, he already had. Intimate fellowship with God. All he had to do was live in creaturely dependence and acknowledgement of who God is, and everything would have been fine. But he instead chose to do exactly what people do today. Rebel against God, think negatively against God, follow the devil rather than God. To fix that, Jesus had to come into the devil's territory. He didn't get to go face the devil in a lush garden of Eden. He had to go face him in a wilderness, in a desert, and to set himself up for failure even more, so to speak. Fasted 40 days and 40 nights before he even met the devil. He was as susceptible to temptation and failure as a man could possibly be. The devil had all the advantages, yet the Son of God won, emerged triumphant, refused to give in to the devil and not acknowledge God, and showed us this is what it's about. This is life. I will not trade my relationship with God for anything in the world. And that's what Satan tries to get you to do, is trade the most valuable thing in the world, which is your soul and where you're going to spend eternity, for cheap temporary trinkets that adorn the flesh or occupy the mind. That's a trade-off you don't want. Jesus said, yes, I know you can give me the kingdoms of the world because this is your kingdom. It's been handed over to you since the fall. But I have come to triumph over your kingdom, and I will not fall down and worship you. I will serve God. Jesus shows us right there in the wilderness what human life is about. You shall worship and serve the Lord your God only. And you will not live by bread alone, but by the words that proceed from the mouth of your Creator. And you shall not tempt the Lord your God and accuse him of false motives and try to be God yourself. Submit to the one who loves you more than you'll ever love yourself, or anyone else will ever love you. And the one who loves your kids, for example, more than you'll ever love them. You love them as much as you can, but you can't possibly love them as much as God. Look at things from that perspective, and you begin to see the way he chose to show his love. That's real. That's the way you show love, is through sacrifice and reality. Jesus Christ is reality. And he came into this world to suffer for us on the devil's home turf, and he snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Satan took victory away when he had no reason to achieve victory in that garden. Everything was going Adam's way. Jesus had to do the reverse of that when he came into the wilderness to face the devil. So Jesus has dealt with the devil. Why doesn't God deal with the devil? He dealt with the devil. Do you not understand that? He conquered the devil on the devil's turf in a human body as a man, which is far harder than what you're talking about doing. You're talking about a wave of the hand, which he could have done easily, again, without getting up. He chose to come into the world to show his love, and yet you still won't see it. You still refuse to look at reality. Don't be that way. You're better than that. You can do that. You can begin right now to acknowledge the reality of God's love and the reality of Christ Jesus, that he's not made up. He really lived. There's historical evidence, all that you need to show beyond a reasonable doubt that Christ is who he claimed to be. At least it's worth considering. Again, you don't answer to me or to us or anybody else. You have to make your own decisions about this. God has given you the ability and the responsibility to make your own choice about that. But you at least need to consider the other side if you've been walking away from him. There's a lot of truth on this side that will really, really help you. And I believe what he said. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. I believe him. And that's the reason that we do what we do and continue to do it. So be thankful for the good in this world. If it weren't for God, there would be no good. When you look around at the world and say, why is there bad? The right question is, why is there good? If there's no God, that makes no sense. Even understanding what goodness is makes no sense. Knowing, doing, and following the will of God is what matters in this life. And believe me, even if you disagree with me, I'm not your enemy. I'm just trying to help you if the things I say could be of benefit to you. Even, if you're a total unbeliever, we can still be friends. We don't have to agree on everything in order to be friends, but I'm just going to tell you as a friend what I believe is reality and let you weigh that for yourself. And we'll do anything to help you in that regard. If there's anything I can do to help you in your spiritual walk with God and questions that you have, we make ourselves available to you for that reason. DewayneDunaway.com. And I appreciate your time, appreciate you being here. And it means a lot to me. It's an honor to be able to talk with you. And I look forward to seeing you next time here on the Assembly Podcast.